3 things that men need to do in order to keep their masculinity. They need to be pursuing women. I mean, whether single or married, men are always going to be in the pursuit towards a woman. Their sex drive is always going to be driving them towards the internal world of a woman. It's a sacred, divine gift. And these single, unmarried men, unfortunately, it's so heartbreaking to me that they have lost so much of their drive to actually pursue women, to go after a woman intentionally. And of course, like, men deal with their insecurities and they deal with their demons and struggles, privately and whatnot. But it's just astonishing to me how they just give up altogether. Like, I am around more men than I am women. And, it's certain circumstances, I just hear so many of these men who just, they give up. They give up completely on the pursuit towards a woman. And this is not good. This is not healthy. This should not be so normalized. It's one thing for a younger man who's trying to get his finances in order and really committed to his jobs and his, purpose, that, it's one thing for him to focus a lot on that and kind of stay away from relationships, pour energy into that. But as far as like these older men who are very well established, they're ready to provide, they're family men, good and, good hardworking men, they've just given up on women, and most of them turn to pornography. This is so gut-wrenching to me. Pornography is like, it's killing testosterone levels. It's killing masculinity. It's killing men's drive towards real women and real romance and real relationships and having the human experience. It's depleting all of their life force. It's depleting all of their humanity that they have left in them. And they've just given up on relationships overall, given up on having a healthy sex drive towards a real life woman. Recently I was talking to a guy and he was telling me, he was like, he's very comfortable with me, and he was complaining a bit to me of how one of his guy friends doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. He was feeling a bit unappreciated and ungrateful because this friend is just he's weird, right? And he's cheap. So I'm he's telling me all of this, and I'm just smiling, and I'm you don't need him to appreciate you. You don't need him to be reciprocal in what you are bringing to him. You don't need that. I'm what you need is a feminine woman at home who is nurturing, who is soft, who is surrendering, who is submissive, who can bring the life and color back into the home, the energy, the love back into the home. And it's just so funny listening to, some of these men talk about their lives of the life that they're living outside of the home, in the male world of competition, because men are always competing with one another. They live in a world of competition. They're always well, I can do this, well, I can do this, well, I can do this, but can you do this? I'm doing this better. And so it becomes it's they don't even know how to hone back in on what they are actually needing. So they can too become unaware of what it is that they actually need. So I'm translating that, and it's so funny because they're living in this world with no real, feminine energy in their life and in their daily life. And then they're finding all these problems in the world of masculinity. And when they do things for their guy friends, and when they do things for their sons, and the world of men in their workplace and whatnot, it doesn't really mean the same. It doesn't mean the same of helping those men as it does as like leading a woman, like coming home to a feminine energy woman who appreciates it in a whole different light. Because that's the beauty of us women. We have the ability to appreciate men in a way that men cannot appreciate other men, right? They just don't have the same spirit that we have as women to bring out the best in men. They can only appreciate so much. They kind of suck at appreciating other men because, again, they always are in competition with one another, which is kind of funny for me to even like think about. But nonetheless, like, we have so much talent of receiving what they offer, receiving what they give, and being grateful for that, and even appreciating all of the little things that are in their homes, that are in their wardrobe, what they're wearing. We notice things. We pick up on social cues better than they do. We notice things that other men don't notice, and all those needs are, when they're single and unmarried and not pursuing women, are not being met properly. And so they're experiencing an array of bigger problems. Anyways, pursuing women healthily and intentionally is going to be a huge factor in keeping masculinity. The next way that men need to keep their masculinity is that they need to stop being so submissive to women. And this can get a little bit tricky because, of course, men need to be submissive to women too. We all have masculine and feminine inside of us. But there's that line of being too, being too pleasing, is that the right word? To her needs, and becoming a people pleaser, and losing their sort of identity, losing their own identity and independence, and becoming like all wrapped up into her and giving her everything that she wants and needs. And the paradox here is, see, women tend to think that, well, I need him to give me all of these things. And men, like, at the end of it all, in the bigger picture, they want to make women happy. So they end up doing these things, but unaware that when it gets, like, when it reaches a certain line, that it comes across as he is less of an independent thinker. He can't make decisions for himself. He's always, bowing down and worshiping to me. And then it turns a woman off, right? It ruins polarity. So, of course, there is that line of men, doing what they have to do for their wife, and for pleasing her, but not crossing that line of, oh, we'll do everything that you need just to make sure that you're happy, just to make sure that you stay with me. You have to be your own person and, make the decisions for yourself, because in the end, she will respect you more. She's going to respect a man more who can independently think and say no to, what has those boundaries and sets that, I guess, that frame, for her, right? She will respect a man more when she has that stern masculinity in her life, rather than someone who just always bows down to her every need. And I was talking in conversation with a guy one time, and he was saying, the men that work for him, he's like appalled at how some of the men have become so needy and pleasing and weakened and submissive to their wives, when the wives don't actually want that. Like, they think that they want that, but they don't want him to become like a girlfriend. They want him to keep their that hard and tough masculine frame. And he's like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's just, it's appalling to me. And I was like, well, you want to know what I teach to my girls? Because I talk about this a lot too. And he was like, yeah, what is it? I was like, oh, you're going to love this. And I was like, you have to think of it like intercourse, right? Men, they go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. But if he stays in, he gets soft. And he loved that. He thought that was very funny. But it's true, right? Men go in to a woman. They get their needs met. They please her. They do what they have to do for her. And then they go out and they get hard and get tough and, you know, build their outer shell up in the external world. Feminine is internal, masculine is external. They have to have that healthy balance of those two energies that is within all of us. They have to have that healthy balance and keep that healthy balance, because in the end, it's going to keep the relationship strong and thriving, and not, you know, becoming more of that people pleaser to the woman that he loves, because ultimately that's what she desires out of him, that tough, hard masculine frame. And the last thing I'm going to say in this video, for the third way that men can keep masculinity alive, vital, and healthy, is examining their dietary lifestyle. And I know I preach about this a lot, and you guys, even in real life, you know, around my friends and family and all of that, like, this stuff is so, like, I'm so passionate about this kind of, these words and this truth, and getting it out there and letting people become more aware of this information. I'm so passionate about it that I even like talk about this stuff in real life, because I want people to know the truth. And so, you know, having, like, examining their dietary lifestyle is going to be so important in their testosterone levels, okay? And unfortunately, here in America, we have normalized eating like complete shit, excuse my French. You know, the men have no problem eating a bunch of junk food, being vegans for some of them, you know, consuming a lot of xenoestrogens, pesticides, all of that. And they're not even really aware of it, right? A lot of the times, like, they're not even aware that this stuff is greatly affecting their testosterone and their masculinity. So examining their dietary lifestyle and just honestly living, like, eating simply, right? It's going to be like, simply eating means meat, some carbs, some fruits, and like protein, carbs, fats. That's the other one, fats, right? It's so easy once you get into the routine of eating healthy, that it becomes a no-brainer. Like, you don't even have to think about what you want to eat. You don't have, you know, all of these overwhelming options in your peripheral vision anymore. You just, like, you become a simple eater, and then eating becomes not so complicated. You know, deciding what you want to cook for dinner becomes not so complicated. And men need to eat a lot of beef and steak and meat, and eat less, you know, sugar and cookies and cakes. And you know, obviously we hear all the time how terrible this stuff is, but I don't think we really understand the extent of it. And so it's greatly affecting their masculinity. You know, even eating alone, you know, making sure that they get enough zinc in their diet can, you know, even without, like, the exercising routine, which of course working out is very, very important for men as well, especially because they have more physical strength. You know, they have more dense body mass. But even without working out, like, just diet alone it plays a huge part in their masculinity. And I can say from, you know, personal experience how male figures in my life were not eating so well. You know, they weren't really taking care of themselves. And I, became very health conscious and aware of the dangers of eating the standard American diet and certain things and staying away from it. I became more aware of it. I started to, eat more cleanly. Is that a word? More clean myself. And then I watched the male figures in my own life gradually, stay away from all of those toxic chemicals that are now in foods, and making them more health conscious, and reading labels and packaging and whatnot, and just being more conscious about it. I've watched this for myself, and so it's just amazing how keeping that clean diet is going to eliminate a lot of health issues and problems overall in their life and in their manhood, and even in their sex drive. So everything that we are putting inside of us internally is going to show externally, right? That's just sort of the rule of life. So examining, diet and lifestyle is a huge part of it, and I just want more people to become more aware of how much effect it's having on men and their health and their manhood. And it can be all tied back to, their pursuit towards women. Stop eating processed food, slowly cut back on all of those things that just don't make you feel good, right? It make you eat a lot, and then it just makes you feel like crap. And we sort of get into this habit when we are kind of spiritually dead. When we're more spiritually dead and we're dealing with a lot of emotional issues, we tend to overeat a lot. But once you break out of that habit and you start eating clean, and you start eating routinely, like when you're supposed to, and fasting when you're supposed to, because fasting is another huge boost of testosterone. When you start doing that, then you will eat a meal one time, going out with your girlfriends or going out with the guys, and just overindulging, and then you feel like, oh my God, like this feels like crap, like I just want to like go run a marathon, or the other extreme of going to sleep. Like it just feels really icky and gross and yuck. So we have to get to the point where eating clean is the normal, and then eating the junk foods and the more luxuries are just that. They're a luxury, right? Once a month, So anyways, that's all I'm going to say for this video. Of course, there's so many other ways that men can, keep their masculinity. But I'm going to end it at that, and hopefully you guys have found this to be very helpful. Make sure that you subscribe while you're here. Help this channel grow. It's been growing consistently, and I'm so happy for that. I want to post on here even more, just because of the fact of the growth that I see. So, and for my ladies, I do have so much valuable information and knowledge about dating, and for the ladies who are feeling a bit uncomfortable in dating and getting out there, and maybe even questioning why you need a man, I have created a whole dating course called the Feminine Dating Course for that reason alone. It has over 6 hours of content in it, and yeah, if you think that that's something that you could invest into your dating life, then make sure you check that out and follow me on all of my platforms. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, and thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and until the next video, I will see you guys soon.